All right. Appreciate your patience as we have been battling technical difficulties tonight. Welcome to tonight's virtual community engagement meeting, where we will discuss two projects. The first project is managed by the Harris County Flood Control District called the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin Phase 2. The second is managed by Houston Public Works and is called the Arlington Heights Area Drainage Improvement Project. This virtual community meeting is being offered by the Flood Control District and Houston Public Works to share vital information with the community. My name is Sparkle Bell, and I'm with the Flood Control District communications team. I'm joined tonight with a team of Flood Control District and City of Houston experts to ensure we continue to keep you up to date on these important flood mitigation projects in your community. We are also joined by staff from area elected officials' offices and community associations. We are glad to see the community so engaged in these projects, and we look forward to continuing to share updates as this work moves forward. We would like to begin by acknowledging Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner Adrian Garcia. Commissioner Garcia was not able to attend tonight's public engagement meeting, but sends his support for this project. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia, for your support. This virtual public meeting will begin with a presentation to share project updates, including an overview of both the Flood Control District's Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin and the City of Houston's Arlington Heights Drainage Improvement Projects. This presentation will be followed by a virtual question and answer session with team members from the Flood Control District and Houston Public Works. Attendees will be able to submit comments and questions through the website or via phone. Any questions not addressed during tonight's Q&A session will receive a response from the Flood Control District and/or the City of Houston after the close of the public comment period. Instructions on how to participate in this virtual meeting are included on this slide on this virtual public meeting webpage and on the Flood Control District's website. I'll also share a reminder of these instructions when we reach the Q&A portion of this meeting. We will now transition to Marcus Stuckett, Director of Engineering with the Flood Control District, who will share information about the district and about this project. Marcus, over to you.
Thank you, Sparkle, and a special thank you to each of you for joining us tonight and just hanging in there while we work through our technical difficulties. In this presentation, we'll give you a brief overview of both of these projects. But before we get into the project specifics, we want to share some information about the Flood Control District. We will also share some information about Houston Public Works later on in the presentation. The Harris County Flood Control District is a special purpose district, and we were created by Texas legislature in 1937 in response to devastating floods that hit the Houston area in 1929 and 1935. The Flood Control District is governed by the Harris County Commissioners Court and works closely with other entities in our region, such as Harris County Engineering and the City of Houston. The organization was created in part to serve as a local partner to leverage federal funding for flood damage reduction projects. Our mission has expanded since our founding, leading to billions of dollars in federal, state, and locally funded infrastructure improvements in the ground. The mission of the Harris County Flood Control District is to provide flood damage reduction projects that work with appropriate regard for community and natural values. One of the most difficult challenges we face is constructing effective projects that are sensitive to community and natural values in a highly urbanized area. Harris County includes 22 main watersheds, totaling approximately 1,800 square miles and more than 2,500 linear miles of channel. 2,500 miles is approximately the distance from New York to California. A watershed is a geographical region of land that drains to a common channel or outlet. Each watershed has its own unique characteristics and needs. The project we're presenting tonight is in the Sims Bayou watershed, located in southern Harris County. Our area is flood prone, and here are some reasons why. We experience extreme rainfall, including tropical storms and hurricanes. We have flat, slow draining land, and we also have clay soils that do not soak up excess rainfall quickly. While the Flood Control District plays a critical role in flood risk reduction, we are one of several entities involved in these efforts in our region. When rain falls on your roof, it flows through several jurisdictions such as streets and drains managed by Harris County Engineering Department, a municipal utility district, or cities such as the city of Houston, before it flows into a larger channel, creek, or bayou that the flood control district owns or maintains. This slide illustrates the various jurisdictions, which sometimes we even share with other entities. Inside neighborhoods, as shown on the left side of this illustration, storm sewers and roadside ditches collect stormwater runoff and start the process of moving it away from streets and homes. Storm sewers and roadside ditches are the responsibility of the underlying municipality. The larger bayous and channels that take in the collected stormwater and move it through our drainage system to Galveston Bay are the responsibility of the flood control district. This is shown on the right side of the illustration. In the middle is a stormwater detention basin, sometimes constructed by the flood control district. When storm sewers are increased, this creates an increase in runoff. Since it is our policy to avoid impacts to property downstreams, detention basins have to safely take in and temporarily store excess stormwater during heavy rain events. Often, we partner with Harris County precincts, utility districts, and others to add recreational amenities such as trails to these basins and along our channels. On August 25th, 2018, Harris County voters approved $2.5 billion in bonds for flood risk reduction projects. This vote followed a series of meetings across Harris County in each watershed, which resulted in a list of what is now 181 bond projects. As a result, as of August 25th, 2025, every project in the 2018 bond program has been initiated, including all 12 projects in the CEM's Bayou watershed. A total of more than $1.35 billion in partnership funding has been secured so far to stretch the 2018 bond program even farther. The actual timing of each individual project will depend on a variety of factors, including environmental permitting, right-of-way acquisition, and utility relocations, and in some cases, requirements of a particular grant. That said, project lists and project schedules are updated regularly on our website. While the bond was for $2.5 billion, the full cost of every project in the bond table is almost $5 billion. So we made it clear from the outset that we would need funding partners to fully construct the projects in the bond program. As I've mentioned, we've had some success so far, having secured more than $1.35 billion in partner funds. This graphic illustrates the many sources of those partnerships, including federal, state, and local funding that the Flood Control District is working to secure for Harris County. Each agency has its own definition of eligible projects and its own requirements for local match funding, so the Flood Control District works diligently to match projects to the right partnership opportunity. We will now move into the part of the program that is specifically about the CEM's Bayou watershed and phase 2 of the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin project. The Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin is located within the city of Houston, east of the intersection of Galveston Road and south of Shaver Road. The purpose of the proposed detention basin is to provide additional stormwater storage for channel C106-08-00. This project is an extension of an already existing stormwater detention basin in the area and will add additional flood mitigation for the Arlington Heights subdivision. This project is currently in the design stage of the overall project lifecycle. This stage is expected to be completed in fall of 2021. The project will go to bid in winter of 2021-2022, and construction will begin in the spring of 2022. This map shown displays the existing conditions for the project. As I previously mentioned, the proposed Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin will be a southward extension of an existing detention basin. The blue portions of the map shows the 100-year floodplain. When we say 100-year storm event, we mean that it has a 1% or 1 in 100 chance of occurring in any given year. Similarly, the orange portion of the map shows the 500-year floodplain or the 0.2% event. or a 1 in 500 chance of occurring in any given year. The Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin is south of the Arlington Heights subdivision as shown on the map. We will discuss Arlington Heights during the second half of tonight's presentation. Now that we've discussed the existing conditions, let's look at the primary objective and proposed improvements for the project. The primary objective for the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin is to reduce flooding and mitigate risk for the Arlington Heights subdivision. The proposed improvements will extend the existing stormwater detention basin into the southern property. The stormwater detention basin will be regraded from the outfall at the intersection of Shaver Road and Crenshaw Road. It will also be regraded at the inflow from C106-08-03 located at Shop Road. The proposed stormwater detention basin will be constructed by excavating the existing soil. Additionally, the proposed stormwater detention basin will include outlets that drain water to channel C106-08-00, which eventually drains to Sims Bayou. So, how will the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin work during a storm event? During normal storm events, runoff would drain into the proposed stormwater detention basin, and during large storm events, the basin will take in and temporarily hold stormwater from the connected channels. This will reduce the potential for erosion and flooding downstream. As water surface elevation levels in the channel go down, after the storm event, stormwater stored in the basins will slowly drain back into the channel and continue downstream. So what are the next steps for this project? As I mentioned previously, the design stage will be completed between fall and the winter of 2021. The project should go to bid shortly after, and the construction process is estimated to begin in the spring of 2022. This concludes the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin project portion of the presentation. Now let's talk about how this relates to the Arlington Heights project. The Flood Control District and the City of Houston are working together to improve drainage in your area. To improve the storm drainage of the Arlington Heights area, the City of Houston proposes to install a large storm sewer system which will convey stormwater in the area to the surrounding channels quickly. This will also increase the flow of draining to the channels. If that increased flow is not mitigated, it will impact areas downstream. To mitigate the increased flows, off-site detention is needed. The City of Houston has coordinated with the Flood Control District and provided funds for the land acquisition, design, and construction of additional capacity to the original detention basin, as I discussed earlier. This additional capacity will provide the required detention volume to mitigate the increased flow from the proposed Arlington Heights drainage improvements and allows the City of Houston to construct a project without causing impacts downstream. I will now update you on the design improvements for the City of Houston Arlington Heights area drainage project. As a reminder, a combined Q&A session will take place for both projects at the conclusion of the Arlington Heights project presentation. First, I'd like to play a brief video highlighting the services provided by Houston Public Works.
Houston Public Works is responsible for the daily tasks you may take for granted. You may not notice us, but we work around the clock to support you. We are the foundation for life in Houston. Houston Water distributes enough fresh water to fill the Astrodome 4 times a day. Transportation and drainage operations handles 16,000 miles of streets. signs and street names and thousands of drains. The Houston Permitting Center regulates hundreds of projects so you can work, play, and live safely. Customer Account Services ensures 2.1 million people have access to safe drinking water with efficiency, accuracy, and flexibility. Capital Projects manages the critical improvements that make Houston better every single day. Houston is always moving towards growth, innovation, and progress. We are the largest, most diverse public works organization in the country. We are one team with one purpose. Together, we create a strong foundation for Houston to thrive.
Great video. So now I'd like to introduce you to our partners at the City of Houston. Start by introducing the Assistant Director for Capital Projects at Houston Public Works, Ron Shavira, and his project team for the Arlington Heights project, who are Sherry Kang and James Wahenia with City of Houston Project Management Group, Marcel Kuo, Jonathan Rizzo, and Adam Rodriguez with IDS Engineering Group, Stephen Parks and Nathan Cesardi with HR Green. In Houston Public Works, there are 5 service lines. This project and presentation is being brought to you today by the Capital Projects Group. Capital Projects delivers large-scale reconstruction and new construction projects of Houston Public Works' existing roadway, drainage, water, and wastewater facilities. They are committed to managing and delivering these critical projects that are maintained and operated by the Transportation and Drainage Operations Service Line and the Houston Water Service Line. This is a design update meeting. The City of Houston heard you, and now they want to share information with you. Arlington Heights area reconstruction has 2 sub-projects. Sub-project 1, highlighted in purple, and is the west part of the neighborhood. Sub-project 2, in green, is the east part of the neighborhood. The city will construct sub-project 1 first, and then sub-project 2. This presentation will update you on the design of both sub-projects. So the project type is a drainage project. Sub-project 1 is currently at 90% design in the design phase. Construction should begin in the spring of 2023 with a $17 million budget. The project manager is James Wahenia. Sub-project 2 is currently in phase 2 design. Construction should begin in fall of 2025 with a $13 million budget. And also, James Wahenia is also the project manager for this project. These improvements will help reduce structural flooding and includes replacement of storm inlets and installation of larger storm pipes. Paving improvement includes new 5-foot sidewalks with a typical 4-foot safety buffer from curb, reconstruction of all streets except for Edgebrook Drive, reinstallation of speed cushions on Parkcrest Drive, Balcones Drive, Freeton Street, and Viceroy Drive. And also installation of ADA ramps at all intersections and replacement of all streetlights. The city will replace water lines and fire hydrants per city standards. And lastly, they will install new sanitary sewers within the city right-of-way to ensure adequate capacity per city requirements. Subproject 1, typical section includes 5-foot sidewalks with a 4-foot safety buffer from curb for the 65-foot right-of-way. This proposed design includes Coronation Drive and Parkcrest Drive. This proposed design includes the remaining streets for subproject 1 with the same 5-foot sidewalks and 4-foot safety buffer from curb for the same 65-foot right-of-way. Subproject 2 typical section also includes a 5-foot sidewalk with a 4-foot safety buffer from curb. The proposed design includes the streets listed here. The City of Houston encourages you to go to www.engagehouston.org to view more project details. And again, this is a drainage project. Once on the landing page, click Arlington Heights. This will guide you to the project page. Once on the project page, remember to subscribe to this project at the top right of the page to receive project updates as they become available. You can access the project documents and connect with the City of Houston for any questions or concerns that you may have. The city is nearing the completion of the design phase for subproject 1. The construction phase will begin in spring of 2023 and will be completed in 2025. The design phase for subproject 2 will be in 2023 and the construction phase will begin in 2025. I will now turn this back over to Sparkle to kick off the Q&A. Sparkle, you're muted.
Oh, thanks, Marcus. I want to thank Juan Shavira and his awesome project team for their participation and support, and all of you who have joined us to receive this important project information. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'd also like to note that due to our technical delay, we will extend our meeting time to ensure we have time to respond to all of your project-related questions. Now, before we move into the Q&A, I want to share a quick reminder that we'd love to hear from you on this and other projects moving forward across Harris County. To learn more about this project, to ask questions, or to sign up for our mailing list, please visit hcfcd.org/Crenshaw. As a reminder, there are a couple of ways to submit a comment about this project during tonight's session. You can submit a comment on this site in the box near the presentation live stream. You can submit a comment on the Flood Control District's website at hcfcd.org/Crenshaw, or you can submit a comment via phone at 855-925-2801 using the meeting code 7775. If you're joining us via phone tonight, please press *6 to leave a message. Additionally, I want to reiterate that any questions not addressed during tonight's Q&A session will receive a response from the Flood Control District and/or the City of Houston following the close of the public comment period. Information from this meeting and a recording of the live stream will be available on the Flood Control District's website and YouTube channel. Now, joining Marcus tonight for our Q&A will be Emmanuel Amita and Jonathan St. Romain with the Flood Control District, who will be answering questions regarding the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin. We also have Sherry Kang and James Wahenia with the City of Houston, who are overseeing efforts for the Arlington Heights project. And now it's time to take some of your questions. The first question is for Emmanuel. Why does this area flood?
Thank you, Sparkle. That's a great question. Structural flooding has occurred frequently along CEM's Bayou and its tributaries, where the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin and Arlington Heights projects are located. The majority of the structures that are flood-prone in this watershed were built prior to the existence of detailed floodplain maps and prior to floodplain management regulations.
All right, thank you for that. James, our next question is for you, and it is, when are the Arlington Heights project expected to start construction?
Thank you, Sparkle. Like we said earlier, this is Arlington Heights project. We basically have two sub-projects. We have sub-project 1 and sub-project 2. Now, sub-project 1 will need to be completed before we can start working on sub-project 2. Sub-project 1 is expected to start construction in the spring of 2023. It should take about 2 years. So that means it goes all the way to spring of 2025. We'll then have sub-project 2, which begins in the fall of 2025. And that should also more or less take about 2 years to complete. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sherry, this next question is for you, and it's one that we get often. How is this project funded?
Thank you, Sparkle. This project is funded through city's capital improvement program. The funding sources include drainage fee, combined utility service for water and wastewater improvements, and property tax.
All right, thank you. James, the next question is for you, and it's, will there be any road closures or traffic impacts during construction?
Thank you once again, Sparkle. Yes, we do expect that there are going to be road closures as we work on the project. However, the project is set into being phases. So what's going to happen is the City of Houston has a traffic control plan in place, and any person who gets affected during construction will be informed prior to the construction taking place. And therefore, with this plan in place, we'll ensure that traffic continues the best we can, and that there's minimal impact to your commute. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, James. That's another question we get often, is the question of how this will impact traffic. Okay, all right, our next question is for you, Marcus, and it is, how are the two projects related?
Oh, thank you, Sparkles. And actually, that's a really good question, and it also provides the opportunity for me to brag on the City of Houston staff, as well as the flood control staff, for being able to work together and produce a project that provides flood damage reduction and also mitigates any impacts that would occur. So the way the two projects are connected, in a previous slide, I showed that on the left side of the slide, it showed an increasing of storm sewers. Well, the City of Houston represents that increase in storm sewers. And if the city were to increase the storm sewers without providing some type of mitigation, whether it's within the increasing the size of the system large enough and restricting the size of the pipes, or letting it outfall into the channel and have some detention basin there to mitigate the impacts. So the way this project is working is the City of Houston is increasing the size of their storm sewers to get the water out of the neighborhood faster and quicker into the channel. And the flood control district's partnership part of this project is helping with the construction of the mitigation for that project, so that it doesn't create impacts to properties that are downstream or our neighbors that are downstream.
All right, thank you, Marcus. Jonathan, our next question is, will the project have recreational features such as trails?
Yeah, thanks for the question. That's a good one. We get that a lot too. And the answer is potentially, maybe. We don't know that quite yet. The flood control district does not build trails, but we do work with our community partners such as Harris County Precinct 2 or the City of Houston Parks to allow for future amenities to be added after construction is completed. And often those amenities do come in the form of trails. And I'll note that it is our typical detention basin design to allow for space up at the top berm so that trails can be added in the future. We call that a maintenance berm, and we always make sure that there's plenty of space up there, for our own maintenance trucks and teams to be able to mow and maintain our detention basins, but also the space up there allows for future trails to be installed by our partners.
All right, thank you. Marcus, will you take this next question? It is, does this project work with the South Shaver Basin?
I'm going to pass that question to Jonathan St. Romain.
Thanks. So this basin does not technically work with the South Shaver Basin in terms of they don't have to be built at the same time or together. They do happen to be close by and are in similar locations within the watershed. And so they do help flood mitigation in similar areas. And so in that regard, they will help to reduce flood risk in the nearby streets and neighborhoods, but no, they are technically not related to each other or part of the same project.
All right, thank you. Marcus, will you take this next question? What will the project accomplish?
So the project will accomplish two things. One is increasing the conveyance within the internal system of the neighborhood, which is the Arlington Heights subdivision drainage improvement project. The second thing it would do is it will mitigate any impacts that are related to that increase in storm sewers by extending the existing detention basin at C506-02 to provide additional volume for that additional flow that we expect to be introduced into the channel with the increasing of the storm sewers.
All right, Emmanuel, our next question is for you. What stage is this project?
Again, thank you, Sparkle. The Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin project is currently in the final design stage. This stage is expected to be completed in fall of 2021. And the construction process is anticipated to start in spring of 2022. And for the Arlington Heights project, it's currently in design, and bids will go out next year, and the contractor will be selected. Once a contractor is on board, the City of Houston will schedule a virtual community meeting to discuss how to prepare for construction. And the construction is to be completed in 2024.
All right, Jonathan, it looks like we're getting a question about where the project is located. Would you share that with the public?
Sure. So the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin, and you can see here on the map, they're located in the Sims Bayou watershed. This is along with the Arlington Heights project. And they're both along Berry Bayou. They're both within the City of Houston city limits. Our Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin is east of the intersection of Galveston Road, that's Highway 3, and South Shaver Road. And as you can see on here on the map, the proposed improvements of the Crenshaw Basin expand upon what's already existing there. So we have this existing stormwater detention basin, and we'll be expanding that further to the south. As far as the Arlington Heights project goes, it's located at East Edgebrook Drive to the north, and South Shaver Street to the east, and it extends from Parliament Drive to the south and Galveston Road to the west.
All right, thank you. Sherry, will you take our next question? It is, with closures in Arlington Heights, will there always be accessibility to and from our homes in a safe manner?
Yes, Sparkle, thank you. The short answer to that question is yes. Our contractor will make sure the homeowner or anybody visiting the home will have the accessibility to and from the home anytime. There will be short time. You may not be able to park your car, on your driveway while they're working on your driveway portion within the city right away. During that time, it will be a temporary time. And during time, we will work with you and your neighbor and see whether you could park your car, nearby street.
All right, Jonathan, we have a question on traffic coordination. Will there be traffic coordination with the local schools like Yes Prep?
Sure, yeah, we will coordinate that as much as possible. I don't know exactly where Yes Prep is, and so I can't speak specifically on that spot, but in general, we do coordinate when we have these big construction projects that obviously put a lot of heavy construction traffic and dump trucks out on the streets. We do coordinate that with the surrounding areas.
And I know sometimes our questions can get very specific to our neighborhood or our community or our specific home. For those questions that in this format we aren't able to answer in detail, I do want to remind everyone that we will be following up following the public comment period. You'll receive a response from the Flood Control District and or City of Houston Public Works. So we do want to make sure we answer all of your questions. With that, I'll take the next question, and it's for James. What is the city doing to improve the condition of Crenshaw Road at the 350th block across from the retention area? The area is unsafe to the public.
Sparkle, this is Juan. I can take that question.
Okay, go ahead.
So yes, Crenshaw, it's in very bad condition. We understand that it's a city project, which was unfortunately had been on the deferred list for quite a while. However, we are, and I say are as in currently, we're working with Commissioner Garcia staff and of course you on this call here in a partnership deal to see what we can do to get together and improve on that road. So we're currently in that planning phase and planning discussion phase. So nothing solid yet to announce. However, just know that both municipalities are working together.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next question is going to go to City of Houston. Sherry, I'd like for you, if you can take this. Is there a plan to open Coronation Street from Galveston into the neighborhood? The map shows the drainage improvement, but currently the street doesn't connect from Arlington Square Street.
Okay, short answer for that is no. So we will not open the street. Yes, the drainage will go through, but on the surface, you will have the same condition after the project is done.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next question is for you, Marcus, and this is one of those, sometimes, we know what a detention basin is, but a lot of the general public does not. Would you explain what a detention basin is?
Yes, so I guess the best way I can explain it, it's an excavation of soil below the natural ground or as it exists today. And it serves one or two purposes. One would be to either mitigate an impact that is the result of increasing the size of a channel or increasing storm sewers or roadside ditches to prevent impacts from being transferred downstream. Or two, it could serve as by itself as a flood damage reduction tool that's within the Harris County Flood Control District toolbox. And the way it works there is that it takes flow off the bayou to prevent it from going into streets and homes and getting outside of the banks, and holds it there. And once the storm passes by and the channel starts to recede, it lets that water out slowly. So it could serve one of those two purposes, or in times it could serve both, which sometimes we have what we refer to as regional facilities where it serves both purposes.
All right, thank you, Emmanuel. The next question is, why are there multiple phases to this project?
Thank you, Sparkle. For the Crenshaw Stormwater Detention Basin, the second phase was added due to the availability of an additional tract of land that could be used to mitigate the drainage improvements at Arlington Heights. Now, city representatives will address the phasing of their division project.
All right, thank you. Marcus, here's another question. If you're improving flooding in this area, are you just flooding another area as a result?
Yes, and that's again another good question. But the answer is very similar to one that I've mentioned a couple of times prior to now. Our policy, the policy of the flood control district, is to not transfer risk or cause downstream impacts. It's something that we hold developments to, as well as we hold ourselves and our other partners within the greater Houston area to. So there are engineering analyses that take place that where we have to, one, prove to ourselves and have others prove to us that the project that is being constructed doesn't transfer a flooding risk to another area. And specifically as it relates to this project, the way it works, this detention basin is upstream of where the improvements are happening. But what it's doing is it's taking flow off the channel prior to going downstream, such to allow the city of Houston to be able to increase the size of their storm sewers to get the water out faster. So the elevation and what we call an existing condition versus the proposed is actually lowered upstream below the top of banks so that additional flow can be added in further downstream.
Marcus, do you mind if I tag along a little bit to that one?
Yes.
And Sparkle, do you mind going back to that overall regional view, please, with all the projects? No, the other one. Well, that one will work. Yeah, essentially what Marcus was saying is absolutely true. But what I want to just kind of emphasize here, that what we're seeing right now is something that may not have happened so much in the past. And that is, we're looking at this as a system of projects. Whereas I think in the past, in the city or the county or flood control, we would look at projects as small components and just kind of keep that tunnel vision on. Unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't know jurisdiction when it rains. So to Marcus's point, if you look at the projects here in series as a system of projects, they work together. So starting from the bottom, as water is going down where it says Galveston Road, there's a channel there, of course. As water is going there, it slows down by going into the detention basin. What that does, it allows the creek water surface elevation to not go over its banks like it has in the past. And basically improving upon Arlington Heights subdivisions, that with the inline detention coupled with the restrictors. And a restrictor acts in such a way, if you can imagine a garden hose, and you put your thumb on the garden hose, like water still comes out at a slower rate. But if you have a bigger garden hose, the water just kind of stays in the garden hose. And it allows water to not flood the people downstream. So you see the number 3 there. All of this is working together with not just this area, but also the folks downstream. And on top of all of this, most recently, we've had to design to increased rainfall conditions. So the old 500-year flood events, which was like 18 inches per 24 hours, something along those lines, we are now considering that to be the current 100-year event. So to Marcus's point, that means you have a 1% chance of, we as a city of Houston and the county have a 1% chance of receiving about 18 inches of rain in the 24-hour period. So again, just to kind of paint the pretty picture of how all of this works together. And it's a great partnership with the flood control district, so much so that we're doing this at many other locations, not just Arlington. I mean, I'm talking about Cottage Grove, Ailey Parks area, a few other parks around town. And I just want to thank everybody for giving us this opportunity to partner with you guys.
All right, thank you so much for that. Our next question I'll take, and it's how can I learn more about the projects going on in Sims Bayou watershed? We have a wealth of information out on our website, and I will never miss an opportunity to encourage individuals to log on to hcfcd.org and find out more about their watershed of interest. If you're interested specifically in Sims, please do log on to hcfcd.org/Sims. We encourage you to check it out. We are constantly updating the website. This next question is for Emmanuel, and it is Shayla. Shayla asked, what are your plans for the Crenshaw Detention Basin?
All right, I'll pass that on to Jonathan.
Sure. So all right, I'll turn myself on here. Our plan for the Crenshaw Detention Basin are to expand what you see out there today. And so if we can look at the map that shows what's existing, there we go. So the sort of polygon, the shape you see down there on the south outlined in purple is our proposed extension of the Stormwater Detention Basin, and everything to the north is what exists there today. And so that shape that's highlighted in purple really represents the parcel, the tract of land that the flood control district has purchased. And so what you will see when this goes to construction is lots and lots of excavation in that area. You'll see excavators and dump trucks hauling that dirt, all of that material away, so that the parcel of land that we see out there today, that's just a flat field with some trees on it, will be all sort of joined in with that existing detention basin, and it'll be one much larger detention basin. And so that'll provide us a lot more storage volume. Some other features of our detention basin include what we would see typically in a lot of our other detention basins, and that's some side slopes, grassy side slopes. And I think I mentioned earlier, up at the top, we have our maintenance berms that could provide a spot for a trail or other amenities that would be placed there by our partners later on.
All right, and at this point, I recognize that many of you have joined later. So I'd like to go back to some of the project-specific slides. We want to make sure that you get this important information about these projects. So we're going to have Marcus run back through some of those slides to ensure you do. In the meantime, please continue to keep asking questions. We'll take some additional questions after this.
All right, so the project overview here, we're looking at two projects. One project, Harris County Flood Control District is leading, and the other project, the City of Houston is leading. The Flood Control District's project is to expand an existing detention basin to provide some extra detention volume. Next slide, please. So our current timeline for the project, we're currently in the design phase. We plan on wrapping this up fall of winter of 2021, 2022. And then in winter of 2021, we plan to go into bid and start the construction process in the spring of 2022. So the existing conditions of today, we're showing here what you see in the teal color, which I think I may have said blue last time, is the actual FEMA effective floodplain for C106. You'll notice some of the green areas going into the subdivision, and that just represents the riverine flooding, which actual depths of inundation that's typically experienced by the neighborhood is probably more than this, just because it was an internal system issue that needed to be developed as well. And on to the south of that, you see where we plan on extending the existing detention basin C50602. So here's an exhibit of where we plan to extend that basin, along with an artist's rendering of what that basin would look like. The primary objectives of this project is to reduce the flooding, not only reduce flooding, but also provide the city of Houston with some mitigation volume for their project in Arlington Heights. And again, this would just be an extension of the existing facility onto vacant property to the south. So this exhibit is meant to show how that detention basin functions. So soil is excavated on what I previously said as natural ground. So this would be the area between where you see here where it says detention storage. If you would imagine all of this is just full of soil or dirt, we excavate that out so that water from channel C106 08 can flow into the channel in major storm events, and during normal events, it'll just capture runoff from areas that are around it. So once C1060800 becomes full, the detention outlet that's shown here on this exhibit holds it in and allows that water to slowly go back into the channel as the channel water start to recede, because once the elevation in the channel is higher than the basin or they're the same, then that water is held until there's enough difference in the elevation between what's labeled as detention storage and what's labeled as channel to allow that water to go out slower after the storm has passed. And this exhibit just shows what I just described here, with the water starting to come out of the detention outlet once the elevation in the channel has receded. And so again, as I mentioned, we are currently in the design stage to plan on having that wrapped up in winter of this year and move into construction by spring of next year. And this overall map just gives you a further zoomed out view of the existing and proposed detention basin and sub-projects 1 and 2 of the Arlington Heights project area, which I will discuss now. And I don't think we need to play the video again. There we go. Thank you. So the area to the west, in the west part of the subdivision, is sub-project 1. The area to the right in green is sub-project 2. The city plans to construct sub-project 1 first, and that will be followed by sub-project 2. So for sub-project 1, the project type is a drainage project with a it's currently at 90% design, with a planned start of construction start of spring 2023, with an estimated budget of $17 million. And the project manager is James Wahenya. Any questions there? James has his contact information at the bottom of this slide.
Marcus, you're muted.
Sorry, did I accidentally mute myself? Sorry.
I think so.
Okay. Sub-project 2 is also a drainage project. It is currently in phase 2 of design, with construction start in 2025 and a budget of $13 million. And James Wahenya is also the project manager for this project. So the city of Houston has several improvements that they're planning on doing. Some of those improvements include the storm drainage system, reconstruction with 5-foot sidewalks and 4-foot buffers, addition of new streetlights and water line replacements to current city standards or per city standards, along with storm sewer replacements also per city standards. So here we have the sub-project 1, which again has the 5-foot sidewalk per City of Houston typical standards with the 4-foot buffer from curb, and that will be within the City of Houston's 65-foot right-of-way. These improvements include Coronation Drive and Parkcrest Drive, and they do not include Edgebrook. Here we have the remaining portion of sub-project 1 with the same 5-foot sidewalks, 4-foot buffer within the 65-foot right-of-way, and it includes all of the streets here, which are Parliament, Coronation, Viceroy Drive, Ravenhead, Outlook Drive, Princess Drive, Empress Drive, and Balcones Drive, and Parkhurst Drive from the dead end towards the south towards Outlook. And here is sub-project 2 with the pretty much the same configuration except within a 60-foot right-of-way. So 27-foot concrete pavement, 4-foot buffer, along with 5-foot sidewalks. And the list of projects that we use this typical section are shown here on this exhibit. So the City of Houston wants to encourage everyone to visit www.engagehouston.org. That's the way they engage the community and want to stay in contact with you.
All right, thank you, Marcus, for going back over those slides. We appreciate it. I know that it's very helpful for those who join later. All right, there are a few more questions and then we'll close out for the evening. The last one of the last questions we have is, how do we report drainage concerns around the neighborhood? James, will you take that?
Yeah, thank you, Speckle. Yeah, there are actually several ways you can do that. The first one is the most common, which is a 311. That is a Houston service line. You'll be provided with a service request number, which allows you to be able to track your request. You can also go to the website that was just provided in this presentation. That's the public engagement website, and actually subscribe to this particular project. You can also go ahead and send in your requests and your concerns as well. And finally, you can actually send me an email using the email that was just provided earlier, and I'll definitely be able to look into that and respond back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right, and Jonathan, a question for you. How much is the Crenshaw Detention Basin being enlarged?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we are enlarging it by about 75 acre feet of storage. And when we say enlarging it, or when we talk about the capacity of our stormwater detention basins, we talk in units of volume. And so the acre feet is a unit of volume. If you want to think about an acre foot as being essentially the size of a football field with about 1 foot of water depth on it, that would be 1 acre foot. And so in this case, we're expanding this detention basin by 75 of those. That's 75 acre feet. Or if you want to think about gallons, 1 acre foot is about 325,000 gallons. And so this basin would give us an expansion of over 24 million gallons. Hope that helps.
All right, and Sherry, one more question for you. How will we be notified before the neighborhood construction starts?
It's a great question. Before construction start, a month before that also, we will come out again to do another public engagement meeting with the neighborhood. And during that meeting, we will also have our contractor on board, and we will talk about what you can expect during the construction, and we will prepare you for the construction.
All right, and with that, I'd like to share one final reminder that we are continuing to accept comments and feedback on this project through November 12th, 2021. We also encourage everyone to get flood insurance as flood season in Harris County runs year-round. Thank you again for joining us this evening and for your engagement with this project and really your patience as we experience technical difficulties. We look forward to continuing to share updates as our work moves forward. Stay safe and have a very